Next up for the Arsenal is our fourth home game in 11 days as we take on newly promoted Southampton. Joining us now to discuss that match is Southampton podcast host and part of the talkSPORT fan network, Martin Sanders. Martin, welcome to Inside Gooners. It's been a contrasting week for both of our sides. So how do you see this one going?
I think it's a tough one for us. You know, we go to a side that I think they're going to win the league. I really fancy Arsenal this year. I think they look superb. I do fear playing them, but we're under no pressure right now because, well, in this game, so to speak, because nobody expects us to get anything. Our fans don't expect anything at Arsenal. So it's almost seen as a little bit of a free hit. And we had sides come to St Mary's last year when we were fighting for promotion back to the Premier League and the Championship, and we had Rotherham come down. They were rock bottom at the time, and they walked away with the point. So it can be done. It's the Premier League. We're adapting to it, and we're really struggling right now. The manager's under huge pressure at Southampton, Russell Martin, not just for the style of play, but the results. Conceded 12 goals in the 6 games. It's been a dreadful start, and I think the result at Bournemouth at the Vitality on Monday night was a disaster. To be 3-0 down inside 35 minutes was an absolute disaster, and it wasn't just the performance; it was the lack of fighting courage that was shown by our players at such an early stage. It is a major concern.
So last time you were in the Premier League, you actually took 4 points off Arsenal and put a huge dent in our title challenge. Does that give you optimism then this season?
Absolutely, yeah. Totally different squad of players, different managers. But yeah, absolutely. It's one of the sides that we seem to get results against. That game at the Emirates was unbelievable. Theo Walcott on the night, an ex-Arsenal player, was at the heart of everything good about Southampton that night. But yeah, it's a tough one for us. We're struggling, certainly in the final third. I'm not sure where our goals come from right now, to be honest. We have plenty of attackers in the squad, but whether any of them are good enough for the Premier League is the major question. The young man to look out for, I spoke about him a lot on a lot of shows I've been on, is young Tyler Dibbling. He's really been brilliant for Southampton. He's 18 years old, but there's a lot of pressure on a young 18-year-old to go and deliver in the Premier League. I hope and pray that Russell Martin plays a striker in this one, because we failed to play a striker down at the Vitality in a must-win game on Monday night, and we looked absolutely toothless through the middle of the park. And if we're going to win games in the Premier League, we need some physicality up front, somebody that's going to hold the ball up and bring our players in, the wide men into play, because at the moment we're really struggling to sort of get it to stick in the final third and create chances.
Darren, do you have a question?
Yeah, Martin, I want to ask you about Southampton's style of play, because a lot's been made out from you guys playing out from the back. Russell Martin wants to stick to his principles. Do you feel that that's a positive thing for Southampton, or do you think that he maybe needs to have a plan A or a plan B? Because at the minute, Southampton to play against are a little bit predictable.
Yeah, Darren, you're totally right. They're way too predictable to play against. I thought he was going to adapt, actually. At the start of the season going into this, I thought, look, he tweaked the way he play. He's changed systems a few times. He's gone with a back 5, gone back to a back 4 now. But he's going to have to find a plan B, because we gift teams too many chances. And when you're playing out like we do, we've got brilliant goalkeeper in Aaron Ramsdale, ex-Arsenal. He's brilliant. He's been magnificent. He's had a torrid few weeks for us already, because we're just letting in so many goals. But no fault of his, though. But he's just told to play it out to the back 4 all the time. He looks frustrated already, which is, he'd be regretting his decision right now, I would think. But Martin has to come up with a plan B. And if he doesn't, he will lose his job. There's no doubt about that. The ownership at Southampton, they have to take responsibility as well for the recruitment, which I don't think has been good enough this summer, in my opinion, certainly in the final third. And maybe he's been let down a little bit. But he has to try and get the best out of the players he's got, and continuing to play the same style of football isn't going to get results in the Premier League, in my opinion, and the whole fan base feel the same. I think it's turning quite toxic quite quickly. Our fan base seems to turn on managers quickly, and the pressure will really build on him if it's a horrific result of the weekend. He needs to change, Darren, really quickly.
Clive, do you have a question?
I do. Martin, do you think to change styles, do you think you have the players to change styles? I mean, to maybe go a little bit longer on occasions and maybe be a bit more gritty off the ball. Do you think you have those players? Because I see a lot of young, talented, developing players, but I'm not sure they've quite got the experience yet. What's your thoughts?
It's good to see you, Clive. No, I think we do. I do believe we have players who go a slightly different route. I absolutely do. We've got a striker that we paid £18 million for a couple of Januaries ago, a guy called Inuachu. He's tall, he's big, he's physical. He scored goals all across Europe, but he's really struggled in England. He's never really been given an opportunity, and he's somebody that's totally different. So if you want to play a bit like Bournemouth did the other night, play a big man through the middle, if you can get it wide, we've got pacey wide men. I spoke about Diblin, who's brilliant. Ryan Fraser, the other side, has got a bit of pace about him, but there's loads of options. There's creativity in midfield if he wants to bring it in, and Mateus Fernandes. And look to try and open up sides and get the ball in the box more. You've got Onuachu. Ross Stewart's making a comeback now. Whether he's Premier League ready, but there's definitely a different way of playing. We come out of last season, we let Shea Adams go. And Shea Adams, a lot of people turned their nose up to him. He missed a lot of big chances. But he was physical and he could hold the ball up. He could drop in, play in the hole. And he was a brilliant foil for Adam Armstrong. Adam Armstrong's been totally blown out this season. He had a couple of tough games and he's been unfairly dropped, and we've not seen anything of him at all. He was a vice-captain last year. He can offer something if he's playing with a foil up front. Yeah. And I think he's got the options to do that with Onuachu, certainly, and potentially Ross Stewart. But yeah, we need to be so much better than we've been in the last couple of weeks. We weren't that bad against Ipswich. We played okay. Adam Lallana was brilliant in midfield. He gets dropped for the game at Bournemouth the other night, whether it was an injury or he's not quite fit enough. He come on, so he must be fit. But there's options, Clive, to play a different way. I absolutely believe that. And another manager would come in and would change it definitely, because there are some really good talent in the squad. But like you say, maybe it's a little bit too young. Yeah.
Well, Martin, thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy the game on Saturday and good luck.
Thank you.
So after the late dramatics against Leicester, are we hoping for a more straightforward win this time out then on the weekend?
I hope so.
There was like a nervous laugh. You all looked at each other like,
You never tell, right? It's football, but we could do with a nice, easy day, you know, a nice sunny Saturday at the Emirates and go for a couple of drinks and enjoy it. Just a nice, steady day, international break. Don't send any players away, and everything will be good, right? That's the future. Yeah. But it's not going to happen, is it?
No, I'd like Arsenal just to first half just completely take the game away from Southampton, and then maybe rest one or two. I know we've got the international break coming up, but I want it to be a calm and composed. I'd even take a 1-0 as long as Arsenal are in control of the whole game, because I don't want any spells where you're thinking, oh no, here we go again. I think Arsenal better than that. And when you look at where the two teams are, Southampton have struggled this season. We know how Southampton are going to play. Yeah. They're still going to risk playing up from the back. Arsenal will know that. I thought PSG did it a lot last night, and it took Arsenal about 15 minutes to figure it out. We'll just go and press them because they've got no target to hit. Yeah. We just heard Martin speak about Southampton having no physical presence up top. Go and do the same thing. Go and press them, and then you win the ball back higher up, and then you go and play your stuff. So I'd like to see Arsenal have a more comfortable afternoon.
But those comfortable 1-0 wins, okay, you know, they're not always the most relaxing and settling, because this is the thing, you know, a deflected goal, things like that can happen. So we might be comfortable, we might think it's all going well, like especially, obviously, just quickly going back to the weekend. I mean, that goal went in just after half time. Most of the stadium weren't even back in their seats yet. Like people where I was sitting came back and they were like, what just happened? So yes, it's comfortable, even a 2-0 win, a 2-0 lead, but you never really know where the game obviously is going to go.
Sure, it's just how you control it, how good your rest defense is. So when we will have a lot of the ball in that game, 100%, 70% easily, I think. Maybe less because Southampton are going to try to play, but it's when you lose the ball, how good your shape is and how good you are there to prevent anything from them. If you don't give them anything, I think this is going to be a tranquil afternoon for Arsenal.
So Timber went off injured against PSG at half-time. Does that mean we will see Kyrgios coming in over the weekend?
I think he will. I think he did okay when he came on, actually. He held his side quite well. You feel that Timber and Calafiori are in a new sort of level of intensity, and they look to be like on the edge of an injury, the pair of them. And so, and of course, Ben White, for once, has actually accepted he's injured. So we might have a problem at fullback at the weekend. But yeah, what we have got is some attackers that didn't get on against PSG, and so they'll be fresh and eager. So we're able to rotate in forward areas, or how people start games, not how people end games. They're bringing new energy. They want their numbers. They want their goal bonus, Darren. You know what I mean? They want their goal bonus. And so they'll be firing towards the end. So it should be good.
And obviously, Aaron Ramsdale makes his return to the Emirates on the weekend. Do you think he'll get a good reception?
Oh, 100%. There's no doubt. He was a great servant to the club. There was a decision made by ARTETA to go for a different profile of a goalkeeper in David RAYA. And I think even if Aaron maybe on that moment didn't really understand why you would go and change a player that has been working so well for you, I think he understood it. He understood it down the line, and I don't think he will hold any grudges that we say against Arteta or the club at all. I think he had a really good time at Arsenal. It's just the way football happens, right?
Yeah, I'm glad he's playing. I know Aaron well. I spoke to him. I'm gutted for him when he left. But as you said, these things happen in football. But I think for him, the most important thing, he's too good of a goalkeeper to just be sitting on somebody's bench. He has to be playing week in, week out. I know he's got aspirations of playing for England. He wants to eventually be England's number one. I thought we had a great chance of becoming England's number one. If he was close. Yeah. But the fact now that he's not playing, David Raya's coming, who's been fantastic. I mean, he should get a standing ovation, Aaron Ramsdale, because he was brilliant while he was at Arsenal.
Do you think it's fair, obviously, then what happened with him?
At the time, no. But as the season and the games have progressed, you can quite clearly see David Raya is a top quality goalkeeper. I mean, I wasn't sure at first because you're only judging him at Brentford.
Yeah,
and Brentford are conceding shots every 3 minutes. So it's better to be a goalkeeper. You look better as a goalkeeper when you're making saves every 3 minutes. But I think for David Raya now, even when Arsenal dominating possession and then he is called upon, he's obviously switched on, he's concentrated, his concentration is there. So, yeah, I do think he's a top quality goalkeeper. I really do.
Interesting. I mean, it was about this time last year, wasn't it, when everybody was, in that big debate. And it's been really interesting to see, obviously, when we look back on hindsight, how and where kind of things have moved with regards to the goalkeepers. That's
the only thing with Arteta, I think, that he got it not wrong.
I think he got it a little bit wrong.
But it's what he said about the two number ones. That's the only thing I went, come on, like we all know that you've not got two number ones. You want David Raya, he's going to play. Just come out and say that.
It was a little bit clumsy the way he was introduced, right?
Yeah.
And you mentioned like substituting goalkeepers, and you created a storm around something that maybe didn't need to be there. But Raya's come in, and his trick is, we now have 11 players, and that's it. And a lot of tactics are about overloads. We've got a goalkeeper that helps provide you one. We have 11 players, and Aaron Ramsdale's a very good distributor, but he's a goalkeeper first, as a footballer second. I think Raya he's a footballer, and the players play to him like one. That's a big difference to how we play.
But then, obviously, we don't want it to happen, but what could happen if Raya does get injured?
Neto is a decent backup, really. And I mean, I don't want to touch wood. I don't want to, but goalkeepers don't get maybe injured as much, or the risk is not as big as an outfield player, obviously for obvious reasons. So you can have the odd injury there and there, but otherwise Neto, that's why they signed him. He was already a bit on the club's radar before too. He's a very experienced goalkeeper. So if it's for a few games, I don't think that's a problem. I even expect him to play in the domestic cups when he can. So it's not a problem. But Raya is the best goalkeeper in the league right now, and one of the best in Europe. So a bit like what we said about Saliba, the same you would say about Kai, all of that. You don't want them to be injured, but City don't want Ederson to get injured. Liverpool, Alisson, Real Madrid, Thibaut Courtois, same. So let's just hope that nothing happens to David Raya.